All right, episode 90.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 more and then we hit 100. And then everyone gets $1 million, starting with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want that.
I would like $1 million, but you know, $1 million is not the same as it once was. You need like $1 billion now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So this episode's all about debunking and proving and glorifying Apple. Because as we know, Steve Jobs was the greatest. And Tim Cook's Apple is a mere shadow of the juggernaut that is Steve Jobs.
Well, under Tim Cook, it reached $1 trillion, so.
Touche. But who laid the foundation? That's all I'm saying.
But who kept it going?
Double touche.
Okay.
All right. Well,
here we go.
3, 2, 1, boom. And we're back with another episode of Crack Gamers. This is your weekly roundup. We talk about 4 things that we thought were cool from the week, and we dissect them in a Socratic way as Vish plays video games. Hence the name Socratic Gamers. So, first on the docket, Vish.
Apple. I have 2 things about Apple.
Okay, cool.
So the first thing, some good news, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had an event. Well, it's like a different kind of thing. It wasn't a product launch necessarily. It was more of a service launches. Like normally, okay, so normally they have, iPhone event, iPad event or something like that, or Mac, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or software, like WWDC. But this one was very much focused on, I think they're focusing now more on services as their
Primary core offering?
not necessarily primary, because they'll still make a lot of money from iPhones and such.
Okay.
But they will make a lot more, like added on.
Oh,
quite
so okay, they're
significantly.
expanding their market from products to
Yeah.
services. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, I think that's where it needs to go.
Okay, cool.
So, like, we already have one.
Actually, that makes complete sense because how many iPhones could you keep recreating?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
and
like-
you've already got the market for the iPhone, so now you just can sell them in service product as well.
Right.
So it just
right.
makes it
That makes sense. Yeah.
better that way. So, like, we already have one,
Okay. Well,
Apple Music.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
You see how
True.
we're already paying that monthly?
True. You know, Apple Music was such a game changer because it totally stopped piracy. I remember before, like, allegedly, back in the days of
Well, I
piracy.
mean, iTunes was there for that.
No, right, for sure. But
But
it wasn't
then-
as easy because you'd have to pay
Yeah.
like individual songs or albums and stuff, and you're like, well, digital's. Are we really going to go digital, et cetera, or like,
Right.
why can't I just pirate the digital copy?
Uh-huh.
We also didn't have credit cards. Not saying we did that. I'm just saying, like, in a time of piracy, the age we grew up in,
Yeah.
it was like pretty prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And with like Apple Music and
Yes.
iTunes and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like it sort of like became like Netflix. It's like it would just be cheaper. I wouldn't mind paying like $14 a month to like have unlimited music
Right.
versus like trying to like scour the internet for like a allegedly pirated copy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Spotify was out there for a longer time too, right?
Spotify,
Almost,
right.
7 years or something.
But like,
But the thing
Spotify
is,
was, like, as, like,
but the thing is, yeah,
right.
it's like Apple Music is built in, so they've already gained a huge amount of following.
Yeah, totally.
already. So,
And
anyways,
and you know it's gonna work.
yeah, that's true. So they had, I think it was
Wait, quick
3 or
pause.
4 things, actually.
Speaking of it working, I actually really like that about Apple because a lot of people are like, "Oh, how come it's so difficult to get this program?" And I always champion them. I'm like, "Yeah, it's closed architecture so that you can ensure that every program and device works within its like
ecosystem.
Yeah. But then people get like upset, but it's like, no, they're doing this for you, because Windows has so many viruses. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So first they announced Apple News
Oh,
Plus.
fascinating.
Apple News Plus.
Okay,
actually.
cool. Is it world news? Like, will it cover your region?
So basically, they're helping out magazines because they ain't doing well on the newsstands.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's them, and you'd get different magazines, Time Magazine, Vogue, and all that stuff, all in a monthly subscription.
All right, TBH, who honestly reads anymore?
Uh,
I mean, I read books. That's kind of like.
I think people do.
That's ironic.
I think there is a market, but
like, I
it's
just
not
don't,
for me.
I just don't trust the. Yeah, I agree. I just don't trust the media. Like, I'd prefer to read a book because, like, within the book, or the thing I like about books is that like they're trying to give you one piece of information, and then all of the fluff is like there to support that piece of information. See what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah. No, it's not just like it's newspapers.
but, right,
it
for
can
sure,
be
for sure.
Like,
But with like newspapers and stuff, it's like
National
that's a
Geographic.
reporter
Yeah.
giving you a very superficial overview. You're never gonna find something like crazy and like maybe once in a while. Like
Once
that,
in a while, like the
like
spotlight
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, what?
Spotlight types of.
Or that one, the reporter from Rolling Stones that got killed because he followed the.
Actually, there is a lot of
What do you
things.
mean,
People
like,
just don't read really into the newspaper. There's a lot of things in there, not just in the front page.
I think the general distrust of the
uh,
media though now makes it like.
Well, because I think.
Sorry.
I still think it's two different things, but
Uh-huh.
like, a newspaper is following the like the video news media, like CNN and things.
Mhm.
But those are like CNN is very focused on entertainment based and selling
For sure.
something, where a newspaper is still an old school method.
No,
They
no,
still
no.
have
Yeah.
quite like a lot of the
But I'm talking about, like,
a lot of the
like,
investigative
magazines.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, a lot of the investigative journalism still happens in newspapers.
True, but I feel like those investigative journalists would be better off doing individual channels of like we could follow you. Like it's like why do you need the medium of the newspaper? You know what I'm saying? Like Tim Pool.
Yeah,
Is
I know.
he associated with anything? But I was gonna say that it's kind of funny now because like the more books I read, and then you're like, oh, it's just as doctored as like news media because some books are like completely wrong. Like it like who put this into publication? You'll read it and you're like, this is so fake. You know?
Well, that's also entertainment, though, right? If it's gonna sell.
Totally, and like that's I assume that like books have more of a legitimacy behind them, but they don't.
No,
You know,
yeah.
and it's all about finding,
No.
doing enough research on both sides to realize like, okay, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's not really much for me. Apple News Plus, I guess, whatever. It's okay. It's a $10 American a month, I guess.
And then what magazines do you get with that?
A bunch of different magazines. They have it on their website. So.
Anything like super cool that you'd be like, oh, I'd pay $10 a month for this magazine?
Again, no. 'Cause
No,
I
right?
don't.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
It's probably an older
audience.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Who reads?
Yeah.
Who
Well, I
reads
mean,
anymore, really?
they're just helping them out, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Or maybe they're making partners. Maybe this is like a part of a grander scheme because now that
Could be.
you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
if they get into partnerships with these people, maybe they're going to start their own magazine later on.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Or like they could tap into the workforce there. You're like, "Oh, this person's really smart. Let me hire them part of my team." Like poaching, poaching people.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing, well, it's not in order of how they announced it, but the next thing was Apple Arcade.
Oh, that's cool. Wait,
So-
this is your second topic, or
No. This
Oh,
is
it's
all
the
in
one.
the same.
Alright, cool.
Yeah. There's 4 of them, and I'll hit on one thing that I like the most.
okay, cool.
So Apple Arcade is just games.
Yeah.
About 100 exclusive games or something.
Exclusive games.
Well, meaning only on iOS, basically. Or, on iOS, most likely.
Who plays iOS game? That's the
Mobile
other thing.
gaming is huge, actually.
Oh, mobile gaming. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, got you. No. I thought you meant like off the laptop. I was like,
Oh,
I
no.
don't know. Who does
Well,
that?
I mean, I don't know. No.
Yeah, no
not
one
much,
does
really.
that. Yeah, especially if it's like a Mac. Like all the
Yeah, no,
like this is
no.
a Windows platform because Mac would not be able to like hack.
Well, it's not
You
cu-
wouldn't,
like-
you wouldn't like hack it
Right,
the way
or custom-
you're like you.
Is
Stay
it all,
tuned
I
for
guess?
behind the scenes. We're going to do a tech gear setup kind of thing.
Mhm.
Mine's more like what I like about my section, but Vish is the gearhead here. He built his own PC. So,
Yeah,
but see again, not Mac, PC.
right.
So,
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. No price point on that. It'll be
But,
coming
like, what
out in the
games, though?
fall. Well, they had a video. It looks kind of cool.
like Final Fantasy, something like that, or like
I don't know what exclusive. Well, I don't know what deals they'll get.
true.
They said
Alright.
100 games, so
It could be like Angry Birds.
could be. But these don't look like Angry Birds, does it?
No.
Just watching a video here.
Yeah.
So, and then they didn't announce a price for that, but it's coming out in the fall.
Oh, okay.
So it could be more than $10, I would assume. Then Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
Right. That's
It's
where
better
we
than
get
Apple
the-
TV.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's just like, so then they had like different actors and then come up on stage, even Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, and
Cool.
talk about the projects that they're working on
Uh-huh.
for Apple. Again, coming out in the fall, still no price point. But that's something I do
Okay.
want to get though.
Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like a Netflix. Think of Netflix, I think, and then
Oh, so it's not a device, right? We're talking about services.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. When you said
services.
Apple TV Plus, I was like, okay, so like a better version of the...
so this services, I believe, will be coming. That's where they're making deals with Samsung and on their own smart TVs.
No way.
Yeah.
Samsung. Apple and
Yeah.
Samsung. That's an insane powerhouse.
I guess. Yeah. So I mean, it's like iTunes, right? iTunes had to,
They want to go
in order to be
against Huawei.
successful, it had to come out on Windows as well.
Right.
Right? Remember the first iPods? Anyways, like you had to get iTunes, but you had to have Windows, so they had to make it.
Wait, actually,
Inst-
I don't remember that at all.
Okay, so we know that everything that Apple does is for Apple products, right?
Yeah.
So when iTunes was one of the first things that they released, not just
Cross-platform.
on
Yeah, okay, cool.
in order for iPods to be successful.
Right, yeah.
So like that's what I mean. What they're doing now with Apple TV Plus.
Okay. So they're starting to put their own foothold in different platforms aside from Apple, so that they can
Yes.
spread it out. Okay, I understand.
Yes.
All right, true.
Exactly. So that looks cool. I think I want to get that. No price point, coming out in the fall.
It was like $50 a month. You're like, pass on that, good
I
sir.
doubt they would do that because you're competing with
Push
Netflix,
button
which is
for
$10
sure.
a month.
Could you imagine if it was
Won't
like
work out.
$5 a month? Oh, game over.
I would like
yeah.
I would like a bundle price because I already pay for Apple Music.
Well, that'd be kind of cool. Take it up with Apple. They have great customer support.
Okay. And then the one thing that I'm more excited about, even though most people were excited about, I guess, Apple TV Plus, I was more excited about. There's only one thing that actually has a product, a physical product too, was Apple Card,
Okay.
which is kind of a credit card that created by Apple, not a bank.
Okay.
That's their slogan. So,
What if people default on the credit card?
would have been default on the credit card.
So if
well,
you-
that's where any other credit card debt deals with.
Yeah, no.
They're
but
working with
no
Goldman
banks.
Sachs.
Oh, okay.
You have to
Okay.
have like someone
backer. Yeah.
some,
yeah.
so
That's what I meant. That's
yeah,
what I meant.
yeah.
I was like, because
Well,
if
it's
they default,
well, this is
where's that debt gonna go?
right, but this deal was made. Apple was looking to someone to work with.
Default means if you can't pay.
Yeah, I know.
No, I know. Just if you're listening, you're like, default what?
okay.
Default settings on my laptop?
Okay, I don't think we were that dumb though.
Well,
Maybe.
bring it to my next topic. Excellent. Great lead into my next topic.
Well, I just want to say, like, the Apple Card is something I'm more excited about to get. So hopefully it comes out in Canada soon.
That's cool.
So, working with MasterCard and Goldman Sachs.
But if it were to come into Canada, they'd have to be backed by one of the 4 major banks or 5 major banks. in Canada?
I don't know what are the rules that they have to apply to the rules of the country, right? I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so like, I learned this in school before, but like, basically, basically each bank in America, the reason why the economy crumbled is because each bank was like on its own. The bank had to be able to like lend the money, right?
Yeah.
So people defaulted, the bank ran out of money, right, to pay like the debts. They had to like keep moving things around.
Yeah.
But the way it works in Canada is there's like 4 or 5 major banks. So like they all work, they don't really work together, but like they're all backed by the government. So it's like you can't, if you have like a stronger safety net. You don't have like a billion different banks trying to pay off a bunch of loans. You have like four of them.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and it's like, I think it's tied into the government somehow. So it's like less likely that you're going to crumble the entire system. Because I asked that once. I was like, wait, 2008 crisis, is that going to happen in Canada? And then he's like, no, it runs differently.
Yeah. The system runs differently.
Although we were affected by the stock market, so like it's
It
like an
can
interconnected
on
woven
certain
system.
things,
No,
yeah.
like whatever is traded,
Right.
world trade,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But
But we didn't have as much
internally,
of a big
I'm saying,
problem
yeah,
as
exactly, yeah.
right there,
No, yeah, not as close, but that's because their banking system's so I don't know, spread out. and whatever.
Yeah, different.
Anyways, so you're saying.
So yeah, they only that's the one. They'll have a card also for that, like a physical card made out of titanium.
Titanium?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apple design.
Is that going to hurt when you sit on it?
Don't know.
Yeah. That's why I have that little sea spook pouch thingy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Look into alternate wallets, everyone. I think like the big one that you sit on is super archaic. You would like it all to be on your iPhone.
Yeah.
I wear a lanyard with like a little pouch with all my credit cards.
I would want everything on the iPhone. That's true.
Yeah. Anyways, is that it?
Yeah. I mean, there's cool deals with that, but you can look into that. 3% on Apple products.
Oh, okay.
2% on anything else.
2% what? 3% what?
Cashback.
Oh, okay.
And the difference is daily.
Okay, cool.
So right away.
That's cool.
Yeah, goes into your Apple Cash card.
Versus annually, because right now cashback's annually.
Or monthly, whichever.
No, I don't have any monthly.
Oh, yours
cashbacks.
Annually? Yeah, so this is right away.
You have a monthly?
No, I don't have a cashback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I think they're all annual.
Okay. Yeah, so this one is daily.
That's not bad.
So like that's part of like their selling point, I guess. And I think it might be successful. If it did, I want it to be so that I can actually get the card here.
That's cool. I like it. Just like Apple Pay. Could you imagine, like, if you look at the way the future is headed, you're gonna have like very few major organizations running the whole tech industry, like, and our society is gonna become prevalently like tech.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna have like Samsung, Apple, Windows, all these major players like running everything.
Yeah.
Except if you go to Pacific Mall, where they primarily trade in cash, or tattoo shops also cash.
Yeah, eventually it might affect them. I don't know. Maybe.
Those people?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever get away with get away with stop using cash.
No, I don't, yeah, it'll take a long time though.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be right away. But yeah, that's not far.
And people wouldn't want to do that because cash is what allows you to like evade your taxes and stuff.
Yeah, there'll be places still for that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like back market deals, whatever. Anyways. So yeah, is that it?
Yeah, that's it for first part of Apple. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of well-equipped less than well-equipped humans.
Okay.
So a little bit of backstory. I'm not too sure. I didn't like dig into the origin, but I've heard a lot about it on like Joe Rogan. Flat Earth started on 4chan.
Okay.
So like some message board, and then people were like, I guess 4chan sort of like
they
Reddit.
Were so mad at that, but yeah. Okay.
Is 4chan sort of like Reddit?
I
don't really know. I didn't look into this.
Sort of.
I don't like message boards.
Not really.
See, like message boards seem so archaic to me. That's why I never got into Reddit, because it's like,
yeah.
like come on, man. What are we in the 90s? Anyways, so Flat Earth is a big thing right now, and it all started from people being like, let's convince the general public to believe in a flat Earth society.
Right.
A big cover up. So people think that there's this giant conspiracy going on about like flat Earth, right? And I'm here to say, I don't actually know if it is flat or round.
Okay.
So like, if you look at, all right, so here's the thing. All right, so a bunch of the arguments that go towards flat Earth,
yes,
they make sense, but then they could easily be proven.
Yeah, exactly.
So it depends on your willingness to look into it. So let's just throw out a bunch of flat Earth stuff, and then we'll just talk about it. So like one of them is like, if the Earth is really spinning, I know that's not really about flatness, but like if it's spinning, how come we don't feel it spinning?
Right.
And then I read in that Fabric of Science book. I had no idea, but I remember like, and I told you this, you're like, what? Yeah, well, those like grade 9 science. I was like, what? I didn't remember learning that. But like, what was it? Relative velocity? Yeah. So like, I think it's called relative velocity. Something like that.
Constant speed.
Yeah. Constant speed velocity, something like that. So like, basically, we've habituated to the feeling of the spin.
Okay.
So it's like negative 9.8 is the feeling of gravity.
Yeah.
If you go faster than negative 9.8 while you're falling, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. And just like with the spin, if you're moving faster than the rotation of the Earth, then you're gonna feel speed move,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if we always felt the rotation of the Earth, we'd probably, well, our brains have learned to tune it out. But if we always felt it, wouldn't that be like a little distracting for daily life?
Yeah.
We'd always be like, we wouldn't be able to walk anywhere. We'd be like walking and falling
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
So evolution has allowed us, in its ingenious way, to not feel the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of them. I saw this with one video about the curvature where they're like, if it's actually, so like basically you take two boards and then you put them 17 meters away,
Yeah.
right? And from the one board, if it's really flat, if I pointed my light at you, so like there's a one board, there's a hole in it where you're gonna shine your flashlight,
Okay.
and there's another board 17 meters away
Mm-hmm.
with also a hole, and you're gonna shine your flashlight,
Right.
or it's supposed to like receive the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was flat, you'd see the light, and it wouldn't like change anything. 17 meters away, right?
Right. Right.
But when they did the experiment,
Mm.
they had to adjust for the curvature of the Earth in order to get the light to pass through both holes. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, there's another simple example. Snipers also use the curvature of the Earth when they're shooting
Mhm.
people.
Okay.
Technology, like mathematics, like cell phones require the curvature of the Earth for GPS.
Mm-hmm. But again, they don't believe in GPS. They don't believe in satellites.
So then how are you getting your Apple to work? Make no sense.
Yeah, they don't believe. They don't.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like you're in two camps. So it's not overwhelming evidence that the Earth is flat, because they do say, like, you know, if you go up in a hot air balloon, you're not going to see curvature. I'm like, true, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, or another thing is like, well, what about the moon? It's round, right? It's like, yeah, but it's round, but it could be flat. So it's like a circular flat object.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like that. I saw that.
Actually, I think, but they also believe, because you can see Mars, they're like, yeah, Mars is round.
They say that.
Yeah.
Oh, so what? Ours is the only flat planet? Make no sense.
Well, it has to abide by the Bible. A lot of them are.
True. You're right. One of the most fascinating ones about round objects
Mhm.
is if you take, this was in Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, but again, he's a round Earth shell, so take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
So if you take like a weird shaped object, let's say you take a triangle, okay, and then you spin it in something
Mm-hmm.
so much that it starts chipping away at like pieces of the triangle,
Right.
right? Like you put it into like a funnel or something, and you like start like shaking it really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna chip away to the point of it becoming a circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why all of our planets are circle, because in the explosion or whatever, whenever they're being like bombarded with stuff, it's like you're just chipping away and it becomes like a natural curve, because the curve is like the shape
Yeah. When
that's
you
the most stable, I guess.
Mhm.
You know?
with all the gravity pushing. Like,
Exactly.
pulling around.
Because if you have like a triangle, that one side of the triangle is going to obviously chip away over time.
But they don't believe in gravity, though. They believe in buoyancy.
Yeah, so that's
I looked into this a lot more.
that's freaking crazy.
Because I watched both sides just for.
They don't believe in gravity. They believe in buoyancy.
Yeah. They
So what does
don't-
that mean?
It's buoyancy. It's not gravity. That's why we're on the ground.
We're like floating. Okay. I
like
see what you're saying.
air is more buoyant.
More buoyant than water,
Yeah.
and that's why we're not sinking.
Yeah. And we're more dense. I guess.
Right.
And that's how they.
Or
But that was an old thinking of gravity before we decided on gravity, or the use.
yeah, and I don't understand why they would want to keep people from knowing that the Earth is round.
Well, their reasoning is that means there's more land out past the ice wall that they're hiding from us.
What? Why though? Like, why would that be the case? It's not
They
Game of
want
Thrones,
us
bro.
They want exactly. They want us to keep us, I don't know, blinded or something. That's what they're saying.
So behind the ice wall is like a paradise,
Yeah, more
aka
more
heaven,
land,
or
more land.
Valhalla.
Yeah, more land or stuff like that.
That's where the ancients reside, the gods.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. If you believe in flat Earth or you don't believe in flat Earth, honestly, we really don't know. The science is above me. But the simple, because they're like, well, like from a logical perspective, flat Earth would make sense because of this. And I'm like, for me, it's like from a logical perspective, all the things I just said make round Earth for me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you'll never know unless you go into space and see it for yourself. It's just like the media.
Yeah, of course.
But I feel like we're in two
But
camps.
they don't believe the images, though, right? You have to be. I guess you have to be physically there. So.
True, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, go into space and then see it. But what I think is like the biggest takeaway from this whole thing is that we live in camps. So you can be like super into science and you can be super into pseudoscience, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what is your life like?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like these are all just like morning dew on the windowsill, bro. It's like chill out. That's
right.
not like, are you hungry right now? Like, go feed on that.
I mean, I don't know. Some people really fall into it, I guess.
For sure. No, and you know what? Like, I will admit that I went full circle on one of these things too, because I was like, I was searching for there's something in me that's like, okay, there's something going on in this world that we don't know, right? And then that made me believe in conspiracies, and that's partially why I got into marketing, because I'm like, okay, what is this whole like manipulation that's going on, right?
Yeah.
And then to realize that the whole manipulation is your mind is creating the manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not that there's anything nefarious going on, it's you are the nefarious thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like if you look at the randomness of events, well, I don't believe in random, but if you look at like events just happening, right? We're telling ourselves what's going on. So right now, in the video game, you're looking for a character. You're looking for some puzzle to solve, right? That you're playing. But if you don't think of it like you have an objective, because that's the story, like I'm trying to solve this puzzle because this puzzle will help me save the rest of the world and I will become a hero, et cetera, et cetera. If you're just going through the motions and there's no story, then it's like that's what life is really like. There's no story except for what you make for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that, I feel like that ties into like these camps of like flat earth, not a flat earth. It's like just enjoy your experience, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you'll come to realize, like, let's say you're like obsessed with flat earth, and then you're like, oh, you're gonna die tomorrow. You'll be like, oh my god, who cares about flat earth? I gotta spend the rest of my time. Are you really going to spend your last day arguing over flat earth? If you are, then kudos to you, because you found something that's really important in your life. But if you're the person that's like, oh no, I want to go do this before I die, then it's like, go do that. Stop thinking about flat earth then.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like what's it going to change in your experience? Or let's say, oh, we're being manipulated by society. Okay, that's something you can't change. Even if you bring it to light, what's that going to do?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to get more money from it? Are you going to gain more happiness?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe.
But then people could argue like, well, then you're just like a sheep sleeping in the masses. Yeah, but I'm a happy sheep.
Right.
You know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's with like everything. Climate change, the Bilderberg Group, all that craziness. It's like the banking system's enslaving us. It is. But I do like the fact that I can play video games right now. And video games are built off the banking system.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, you have to take the good with the bad. It can't always be roses.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I spend a lot of time just for fun looking at both sides. So.
Yeah, see, and that's something I just look at it superficially. I just like philosophize over it, but you like really go deep dive into a lot of things, which I feel like I don't have the time to do that. Like I do it to a degree, and then I just rely on you to fill in the gaps because you obsessively look at both sides.
Yeah, it's
but like I don't know how you do it
why.
Because like I would be irritated, like watching me like, oh come on, bro, I get it, come on, this is so dumb.
I just find it fun, I guess.
Yeah, human nature, hilarious. Yeah. All right, Apple.
Yeah, Apple, something different they did.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something they announced back in 2017.
Okay.
Supposed to be released in 2018.
Delays.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they didn't ever mention it was delayed, but they never talked about it until I think it was Friday when they said they had to cancel that project.
Okay.
So it's
Well,
something
sucks
really
to
different.
suck.
It's very different. That normally Apple doesn't really tell what they do. So when I mean, they generally can cancel things, but nothing would. That's internal, right? So nobody knows about it. Like when the iPad first, or when they were working on the touchscreen stuff, they're working on the iPad first. Then they came that we're not ready for the iPad, or they weren't whatever. So they focused on iPhone.
Okay.
Using the same iPad technology.
Okay.
Then they went back to iPad, and then but nobody knew about that.
Oh, they just like put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But by announcing something and then not coming out and then saying it's canceled now is like a bad light.
Yeah.
It's a bad view. So they thought, I guess they would have figured
Steve
it out.
Jobs was here, that wouldn't have happened. Just saying.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. This thing it's called AirPower, where you would charge all three devices, like an iPhone.
Sorry. Just a quick pause on that. It's funny how when Steve Jobs was handing it over to Tim Cook, he's like, "This is your Apple now." I wonder if like that was also a double thing where he's like, "If you mess it up, that's on you." You know what I mean? Like,
maybe
my reign is done. Anyways.
Well,
so we can always look back and be like, Steve Jobs is a genius. You know.
They'll always that line always comes up though.
What?
Steve Jobs wouldn't have done that or this that.
Oh really?
Yeah, I always see that line.
Natural tendencies. All right, go ahead.
But he did give it to Tim Cook to do whatever he wants to do.
That's what I'm saying. But that's probably because he's like, if people think that I'm like I wrote out directives beyond the grave, then they'll be blaming my corpse for undue things. But to openly be like, hey, this is on you now. It's like, I've washed my hands clean of this.
Right.
It's almost like he's like, really weird association. He's like Jesus.
Maybe.
No. Think about it.
Right.
He completed his life mission and he left the earth.
I guess.
Right. His whole mission in life was to give us Apple. That's what he was so driven towards. It like cost him his family, and then he died.
His family. Huh?
Yeah. Remember his like estranged daughter.
That was before.
Yeah, but
Not
still.
now.
Yeah, but still,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
saying like. You can't
kind of fix himself.
Yeah, but you gotta break some eggs.
Yeah.
Just like the whole.
But he has a family still though.
No, totally. I'm saying like it was evident that his life mission was Apple.
Yeah, right.
Not to build a family.
Right.
Right. Like whereas most people's life mission is like, let me just have children. That's their life mission, right? Yeah. But like his was like to provide us with Apple, and then he died. Yeah. And now we have a legend. Just like Jesus was like,
actually, they already. I mean, there's other stories of him being like Jesus when he.
That's exactly. See,
told you for like being kicked out of Apple.
Like, and then he wandered for those years. Yeah, man.
And he
it's
came
a Jesus
back
story.
And took over the kingdom.
It's like Lion King, but Jesus,
well, they did it in a better.
Jesus.
They said it in a better way than what I just said, but yeah.
But that's just the archetypical story of like everyone.
Yeah, that's
like.
True.
Like, what are you going to do with that? Like, what are your other options? You only got two options. You get kicked out, either you come back or you leave it alone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Jesus, too.
Yeah. So, this one, they could not figure out the technology. They just, I don't think the technology was ready yet. So, basically, like right now, you can do wireless charging, right?
Okay, yeah.
But it's one device at a time on the thing.
Yeah.
So,
they're trying to do multiple.
They wanted to have, they called it AirPower, where they would have three things, so which would be the generally the iPhone watch and your AirPods wireless charging, all on the same pad.
That's pretty sick.
But they couldn't figure out it's called like a coil system or whatever it was. So it did not meet their high standards, as they say.
Right.
And I guess it was overheating issues and things like that. So they tried to work on it, I guess, for over a year
couldn't do it
and couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's all good.
The tech is not there. I guess it happens sometimes, but this was like the first for Apple.
It's so funny.
That I remember.
It's so funny because I'm still used to like tethered. So when I went to the Apple store like 2 days ago, I was like, I saw these iPads. I was like, oh yeah, let me like an iPad, right? And I was like, oh, let me wait. It is charged by AirPower, right? iPads?
No.
Oh, okay. So then I was just confused. Never mind. Okay, never
No,
mind.
not iPad.
There was like a little pad on the iPad, and or was it an iPad I was showing you? I think it was an iPad. But I was like looking at it, and then like I picked it up, and I was like, "Is this charging right now?"
I don't think the iPads
And then
don't
I was
have the tech yet.
confused. Oh, okay.
iPhones do, Apple Watches do.
Oh, okay.
Right, you know, yours is wireless charging.
Not mine. It's Tara's.
Your
Wireless.
Apple Watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure.
Her Tara's iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be wireless charge. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, but that's how the confusion began? I thought the pad that it was being held on was the charger as well. I was like, what the hell's with this technology right now?
Oh.
You know, because like I started to associate wireless charging. So I went there and I was like, oh, this platform must be a wireless charger. That's how advanced I think Apple is in my head.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're building this like perception of being like this state of the art like technology corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thought it was kind of interesting. That story was not as cool as if it was actually wireless charging, because I thought it was wireless charging. I was like, oh, I thought this was just a pad. And then now it's like, no, it really was just a pad. You're just dumb. I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay, never mind. Delete that story from your memories, everyone. All right, continue.
Yeah. So, no, I'm just saying, like, they could not figure that out, and people were wondering, is it going to get canceled, or is, because they keep hearing like it's overheating.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just an interesting. It would have been a very cool product to have because nobody else is doing that.
True.
But I guess they oversold it or
Overhyped it.
Or they shouldn't have announced it unless it was unless they had
Right.
it working.
I see what
I
you're
think
saying.
because now there's like all the memes now about it. Just that they
Failed by Apple.
yeah. Because recently they just released
What would Steve do?
which is also I guess an internal. I guess nobody got the memo internally, but the new wireless AirPods that came out had the image of the AirPowers. On it, so it's like, oh, is it coming out now?
Oh, rough.
And then at the end of the week, it was like, oh shit, it's canceled.
Oh, too bad. Overhyped.
So that was like a first.
That's
at
why I
least
gotta
for
keep
me
it
to
close
see.
to the vest, bro.
But that's what they do, but they didn't. I
Do it
guess
this time.
I think at that time either they
Overly
wanted
optimistic?
that one more thing kind of thing.
I guess, yeah.
So I guess they.
What would Steve do, bro? What would Steve do?
It did not work out. True. Yeah, what would Steve do? Who knows?
Yeah, he probably would have yelled at them a little harder. Would have been like, we're not going home for this entire year until it's made.
Probably.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what would Steve do?
Or not announce it unless it's like almost
Very
ready.
close, yeah. Unless the last thing is like aesthetics, like what color are we gonna make it?
Yeah.
And then you can be like, yeah, we're gonna release this thing.
Right. I think that would be better. But
Yeah, just marketing decisions, whatever.
well, they had to say it because people were talking more and more about it, and nothing was happening, and people wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah.
So they had to reveal that. Yeah. I think they'll do their own wireless charging, but just not this way,
Right. Well, whatever. I mean,
which is fine.
they're smarter than us. So, like, whatever. It's like, thank you, technology gods, for granting us
Right.
these
right.
amazing devices.
Yeah.
All we can really do is wait. That's also why I don't really like if it's like, oh, this could have been better, like this or whatever. It's like, yeah, it could have been, but at the end of the day, they created it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna create it. I'm just gonna appreciate your divine gift,
Right.
technology gods.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, even though this is a hard mess, it's like, whatever. You'll come out with something better later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they will. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of over-promising and under-delivering,
Oh.
quantum physics.
Okay. Wow.
But how does that tie into it? So over-promising, quantum physics. Nobody knows what quantum physics is, man. It's like, it's so above the level of comprehension. In order to understand true quantum physics, you have to go beyond mind and realize that we are beings that are more mystical.
Okay.
And anyone who says they understand quantum physics is a liar, because quantum physics is so difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the overhyping, under-delivering. Because at the end of the day, after reading that Fabric of Cosmos book,
Mm-hmm.
the fabric of the
Yeah.
universe, quantum physics is just, we don't know the math or have the tools to support our findings.
Yeah.
And that's it. People overhype that one. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna read this book. I'm gonna learn about the craziness
Overhyped
of
it?
the...
Like what? What were you thinking?
Because people, like, every time we talk about quantum physics, like, all right, so in mystical worlds, in mysticism,
Yeah.
like in the esoteric like realms,
Okay, yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
know the
Yeah, yeah.
the Malawares and the freaking
Talking about those people?
yeah, that's what I mean, those people, they often attribute quantum physics as being like, see man, like quantum physics is like corroborating our belief system
Mm-hmm.
as to why crystals should heal your body.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh.
they're using quantum physics as a means to prop up their like pseudoscience.
Okay.
But then if you actually look into quantum physics, yes, a lot of theories are holding true. So like mystics of old, like in the
Uh-huh.
ancient texts, it's a lot of quantum physics. Right?
Okay.
So like a lot of what they were saying
Yeah.
is being proven now through quantum physics. But not everything. So it's like
Okay.
if you take one thing that's true and you
Mm.
attribute it to the whole, then it's like, okay, now you're just overhyping and
Yeah.
under-delivering.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, not everything's true. So let me give you an example. In ancient texts, they say like, oh, everything is... So, okay, there's this thing called Prakriti, which is nature, and then it's subject to the gunas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and the gunas are ever-changing.
Okay.
So basically, we live in a changing reality. Nothing is still. Everything's always changing and moving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've proven that through quantum physics.
Okay.
Because like
Yeah. Okay.
all like so like relativity. So like we've created these tools in the outer world, like in the macro world. So I don't want to say outer world because then people are gonna be like, see, there's an outer and inner world. There are, but all right, that's not what I'm talking about. There's macro tools
Mm-hmm.
and mathematics.
Okay.
So what we see is like I can study the apple falling on my head. I can like figure out the relative velocity of something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But like in the micro world, these things like these mathematical equations and like tools that we've been using don't actually apply because the gravity is different. It
Yeah.
all comes down to gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And like well, gravity and like other things like particles. So like the jumping. Okay, wait. I'm splitting my topics. All right, so back to the ever moving. So like what they say is like you can't, because you're moving
Mm.
and because the
Yeah.
other thing's moving, we
Yeah.
can see it at a macro level and quantify that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But on a micro level, they're both moving so frequently that it's impossible for us to quantify things on such a small scale.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's too much movement to track,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like
Yeah.
you don't visually see it
Yeah.
in the macro scale, so
Okay.
you think that you're constantly still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you think that relative to you, this object is moving at a specific speed because you're constant, you're not moving, you're at speed 0.
Okay.
Okay, but if you look at your molecules, and in relation to the rotation of the Earth,
Mm-hmm.
you're not at a constant 0. You're moving as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
to calculate something that's moving while you're moving, it's impossible, because
Okay.
you need one constant at 0.
Mm-hmm.
Because what becomes your 0? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. Maybe.
So, okay. So if you're not moving, but you go to the molecular scale, your atoms are moving,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So now even if you breathe, that's going to change your velocity of your atoms.
Mm-hmm.
because you're moving. Like, there's no constant zero.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard for them to calculate these little particles, and they say like everything. But see, like the ancient yogis, they knew this too. They were like, oh, everything's moving. They just didn't have the tools to measure that everything's moving. They just believed that everything's moving from what they saw in their outer world, right? They saw like, okay, if the planets are moving, we must be moving as well,
Okay.
right? But like on a molecular scale. So
Well,
science,
they might have got it right just by accident.
intuition. It's just a
Or-
guess,
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
right? So it's like, so because that's exactly what I'm getting at. It's like quantum physics is proving a bunch of things, and then all these people are like attributing ancient knowledge
Right.
to it, and they're
Yeah.
like, see, ancient knowledge is correct. It's like, no, it just aligned,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So like, so there's that one, the lagunas. The other one is like, if you, like, things teleport.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if there's an atom, and then you're trying to, or it's like an electron, because they use an electron in it.
Yeah.
If you try and like measure or like see the electron at a quantum scale, it jumps. And then people are like, okay, so like alternate realities, teleportation's real, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, no, because in order to measure that electron, you need to shoot a photon at it, which is like a light beam, but the light beam carries some mass.
Yeah.
So that mass pushes that electron further. So it's like, again, we're not actually looking at the reality of the situation. We're attributing our mysticism towards it,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So basically what I'm getting at here is quantum physics is the bleeding edge of math and science, where people don't actually know what's going on. And because we don't know what's going on, people are using
Yes.
that as a means
Yes.
to prop up
Oh yeah.
whatever it is they want to believe.
Exactly.
And that's what I find ridiculous, because I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
reading it, I'm like, okay, you're just saying you don't know. You're just saying you don't know. You know, and the things that you do know, it's like, oh, that lines up nicely with frickin' ancient understanding.
Right.
It doesn't mean ancient understanding's correct.
Yeah.
It just means that you were onto something, we just didn't study it up until now.
Yeah.
Like, good
You may
example.
have been onto something.
It's like, I'm afraid you may have been onto something. So I'm not the biggest fan of the dentist, although I'm getting a lot better because the dentist I go to now is amazing. Shout out to you guys, North York Smile Center. But so like oil pulling. So I was like, oh, I don't want any more cavities, so I'm going to research like what people did. And they're saying like, oh, back in the ancient times, nobody had cavities because they oil pulled.
Okay.
Right? They would just oil pull, and then they would just like swish oil in their mouth, like very fatty oil, like coconut oil or like sunflower seed oil, and then
Okay.
it'll take out the bacteria, and then you spit that oil out, and then you have no more potential for cavities. Okay? And then the dentist was like, that's not actually correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work like that. kind of like we're realizing that some of that stuff is true, but that's not going to save you from cavities, because cavities don't always like they're well, what I believe, because I was asking about cavities, like your tooth is always being bombarded, and it's like between developing a cavity and not developing a cavity. Like it's called remineralization.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
demineralizes and remineralizes all
Okay.
day.
Okay.
So it's like this one act of using oil is not going to like substantially change that
Okay. Yeah.
relative to whatever else is you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like Tara's egg study, where it's like, okay, those people, although they were affected by eating eggs, it's like they actually ate eggs very little, and they were doing a lot of other things that we don't actually know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're attributing this one variable to a greater outcome,
Yeah.
you know?
True.
Basically, look at the science. Not everything is like we're so desperate for hope that we're a
Yeah, I
greater,
think
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
it,
Like,
yeah.
we want to be bigger than we think we are, but we don't realize that we are just a part of the whole,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's this great thing I heard at church once, like, you forced to go as a kid. And like, but this one stuck with me because I was like, oh, this is actually a really truthful
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And they said, like,
Mhm.
God had a competition with man.
Okay.
And then man was like, God, I've become just as good or better than you. I can create anything now. And then God's like, all right, solid. Let's have a competition.
Okay.
Okay, he's like, we're both going to create something amazing and then see who wins. Who makes the better, like, amazing thing.
Okay.
And then man's like, all right, solid. I'm going to beat you. And then God goes, wait. You can't use anything that I've created.
Okay. Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's like we just think we're greater than we are. That's the fallacy of man.
Mhm.
Or humans, because, like, you know, gender neutral here.
Okay.
But, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel like we're doing with quantum science, or like things like, oh, we're the only sentient beings on Earth. We're like the masters of it. If we really are, then what about the oceans? Like, we barely know anything about the oceans.
That's true. Oh,
You
even
know-
even space, we don't know anything about. There's a lot of things we don't know.
Yeah, for sure. But see, like, if you read things
Quantum
like
physics.
quantum physics, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So if you read, I read this book. It's very famous. The Secret.
Oh.
Okay, so The Secret uses quantum physics.
Oh.
Did you know that
They
if
do?
you because your thoughts that it's a thing in
Okay.
quantum physics where your thoughts can manifest your reality.
Mhm.
Like, so you know that thing where it's like, if a butterfly flaps its wings, a tornado will happen in Hawaii.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
heard that, right?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
heard that analogy?
Yeah.
So that basic concept is basically what they're trying to do with quantum physics and envisioning your life goal.
Okay.
So it's like you're looking at, so they say in it, like, envision it and it'll happen, it'll come.
Mm-hmm.
And science has proven this because our thoughts actually affect reality
Okay.
through quantum physics.
All right.
And in that book, it did bring up, like, yeah, your thoughts may, it didn't say can,
Okay.
does. It's like
Uh-huh.
may. This is just a theory we're looking into as well.
Okay.
But because we haven't fully figured it out, you can hop on the bandwagon of, see, we were right. But it's like, nobody's going to look into the science and be like,
Mhm.
oh, because then it's not proven. It's like we might be correct, we might be wrong. So they're erring on the side of being correct rather than
Okay.
being reductionist, which I found out was what we are. Like, you and I came across this, like, terminology. It's called reductionist scientists, where you look
Yeah,
at
I
the,
heard
like,
that word before.
yeah, I didn't know what it meant. So it's like you look at the very base principle of whatever it is.
Mm.
So, like, it if you, or there's another thing like Occam's razor, where you cut away all the BS and, like, look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, so that's basically what people are doing. They're attributing this grand thing to something, like, if we don't know, it might be true, rather than being pessimistic. Like, one would call that optimistic, right?
Yeah.
I'd call that deceitful, but to each their own. But, like, rather than being like, we don't know, so we can't say anything about it. They're on the other side. We don't know, so it's probably true. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's the hope, I mean.
Right.
We're hoping that we're something greater than we are because we feel so inadequate in our daily lives.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, that's just a thought perspective. You're not inadequate. You're just choosing to think you are.
Right.
So you're choosing hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
I think it
When,
does.
when you go into quantum physics, you get into, like, I mean, like, when you start talking about it, it's like, it sounds so, like, it was so hard for me to explain what it is I read to you, and, like, with the whole, like, relative velocity thing, because it's like, yeah, it's such a difficult concept to understand
Right.
or conceptualize.
Yeah.
Because we don't really understand it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
don't be as hopeful. Be proactive.
Proactive. Yes.
Like,
Sure.
if you believe in a goal, don't just envision it, make it happen for yourself, because quantum physics is unknown, so we can't safely say that just because you envision it means that you're going to get it. I remember this one guy. All right, sorry. Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? I remember this one guy. All right,
that was my gripe with The Secret for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. But like, it's just too much hope. Like, I don't like hope.
Yeah.
You know. But I wrote that young Yoda quote where it's like, hope carries humans, because that's what we need, right? It's like we were back in the day when we didn't have any of this, and we're just like a small tribe, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go across the earth. You had to be hopeful that something was there, or else it's a death mission.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I understand why we need hope.
Yeah, we still need that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, if you have cancer, you still have to hope that it's going to go away.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Or else you don't hope, and then you get really freaking sad. Like, it's like...
Right.
It's almost like we have this toolbox of making ourselves feel better, and, like, hope is just one of the tools, but don't get caught up in a single tool.
Right.
You know? Maybe knowledge is the tool. Maybe proactivity is the tool. Maybe acceptance is the tool. You know?
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like society's really caught up in hope.
They are, yeah.
But society is just made up of humans, so really humans are just made up of hope. See that reductionist right there? It's not society, it's people.
We live in a society.
Yeah.
It's a meme.
Oh, learn to code.
Yeah.
Or learn to philosophize, because if you can't code, at least you can share ideas.
I guess.
Yeah. All right. So till next week, hopefully we'll have that behind the scenes tour for you guys. I'm really excited about it because I love watching those because they inspire me.
Okay.
So I think it'd be cool if we like put that out there, and then like it'll inspire other people. You know what's funny? All right, sorry, last thing. When we do things,
Yeah.
like especially social media wise, like even with this podcast, it's like, oh, you guys want like fame or like attribution or like, no, obviously those things would be cool, but at the end of the day, it's really just about spreading the inspiration that we've felt to other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like ammunition.
Ammunition.
There's ammunition, bro. Like ammunition. Anyways, check her out. She's awesome. She does like a lot of behind the scenes, like PC stuff, and like that was very inspiring to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we're doing something similar. So it's like maybe you're curious as to our setup, or like she has like these tattoo explanations, and I used to read them right before getting my own tattoo because I like that stuff.
Yeah.
You search her name. What is it? Ammunition. Like ammunition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ANNE munition. Yeah, check her out. She's dope. Twitch. Anyways.
Very nice.
Till next time.
Peace.
Wait. You didn't say your final thought, Vish. Go ahead.
I want that Apple Card.
Yeah, titanium. That's gonna be so dope. You could probably kill somebody with that. I'll pull that out and just like slit your throat with that titanium.
Oh,
you know,
Jesus, all right.
Infinite destroyer right here.
That's not good PR.
That's not good PR for them, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if somebody killed somebody with? That's like the worst PR. If you were, oh man, all right, don't do this, but this is a dope idea. If you worked for Samsung and you were like, oh no, I want this Apple Card to go down, just hire like a crazy person, and then just get them to like kill somebody with the Apple Card because it made it of titanium, and then that's just terrible PR. Be like, you should have thought this through, Apple.
Well, I guess.
I wonder if you can get in trouble for sharing that idea. Just now I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's definitely
Freedom of speech?
Yeah, that's definitely gonna limit job offers in the future, though.
Like, we're just joking.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna turn up to an interview, and then they're gonna pull out and be like, "So in this podcast, you said that you think," unless like you work for like a tech firm, and they're like, "Wow, these are brilliant ideas." So who knows? All right, rambling now. Take it easy. Till next week.
Peace.
Bye.